Good evening. Welcome to Connections of American Orientalism and Multiculturalism. Comparing it in Angela Davis's Selections from Freedom is a constant struggle. I am your host, Grace Driggs. Thank you for joining me this evening. This presentation is an opportunity to teach and share valuable insights and expand your knowledge and understanding. Our video tonight aims to teach and educate on what American Orientalism and Multiculturalism are. American Orientalism refers to a way in which the United States has historically represented, interpreted, and interacted with the cultures, people, and lands of the Middle East, Asia, and North Africa. In the American context, American Orientalism refers to how these Western perspectives and stereotypes were adapted and perpetuated in the American culture, politics, and foreign policy. This phenomenon has several key features. This includes the stereotypical representations with exotic and mysticism. The East was often depicted as mysterious, exotic, ancient land full of violence. Portrayals painted of Eastern societies as backwards in contrast to the progressive and dynamic West. We also have it depicted as being barbaric when it comes to culture and political justifications with imperialism and colonialism, when the United States did not colonize the East in the same way that the European powers did. American Orientalism is intertwined with justifications for imperial ambitions, such as the Philippines, Hawaii, and later the Middle East. We also have Cold War dynamics framing the conflicts in the East as struggles between a free world and a communist East. We also get it in cultural products and media like Hollywood and entertainment. We get this in various characters throughout films like Aladdin and Indiana Jones, contributing and reinforcing these stereotypes. When it comes to consumer culture, it could be exotic goods from the East, such as spices, fabrics, decorative items. When it comes to Orientalistic scholarships and the role in academia, American scholars and intellectuals have been a part of a broader Orientalistic tradition where academics are at times used to legitimize policies and intervention or control over Eastern lands. And then we also get the post 9/11 America, where there was a newfound expression in the discourse surrounding Islam, Middle East, and terrorism. These negative stereotypes of Muslims and Arabs became more persuasive and framed throughout the lens of Islamic extremists. Multiculturalism, in the context of ethnic studies, refers to a recognition and celebration and analysis of cultural diversity within a society, especially in terms of how different ethnic and racial and culture groups interact, influence, and shape political and historic realities. It emphasizes the idea that society should respect and honor various cultural identities, fostering an environment where individuals in different backgrounds can coexist, participate, and thrive while maintaining their unique cultural attributes. When it comes to multiculturalism, you have cultural diversity, emphasizing the difference of cultures and perspectives. We have historical content that involves studying the histories of various ethnic groups, especially marginalized or underrepresented communities. We have social justice. This can be linked to a broader agenda of promoting equality and social justice and the dismantling of oppressive structures that have historically marginalized certain ethnic and racial groups. We also have critical engagement, where ethnic studies encourages critical thinking about the issues of race, ethnicity, culture and interrogates how power dynamics such as privilege, discrimination, racism affect social structures. We have cultural preservation and adaptation. It addresses how communities balance the preservation of their culture and practices and traditions. And then we have intersectionality. A key aspect of multiculturalism in ethnic studies is understanding how multiple aspects of identity, such as race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, class, all intersect and shape individuals' experiences in society. Overall, multiculturalism is about understanding and appreciating cultural differences while promoting inclusion, equality, and respect for other groups. Angela Davis is a scholar, activist, and revolutionary who has spent her career fighting for racial justice, feminist issues, liberation of marginalized communities. Her work focuses on intersections of race, class, gender, and the prison industrial complex. In Freedom for a Constant Struggle, Davis examines global struggles for liberation, drawing on historic and contemporary examples of resistance against imperialism, state violence, and oppression. You might be wondering, why does reading this help explain American Orientalism and multiculturalism? Well, Davis's work helps deconstruct the cultural narratives surrounding American Orientalism. It emphasizes how radicalized representations of the East serve to justify the U.S. military and economic interventions in the region, and how these representations also tie into the U.S.'s need to control and dominate global narratives. In terms of multiculturalism, Davis critiques how the superficial way of which diversity is often celebrated in the US without a meaningful effort to dismantle the power structures that uphold this racial inequality. Davis invites us to rethink about what it means to genuinely embrace diversity, recognizing it not just as an aesthetic or cultural phenomenon, but as a social justice interpretive. When looking at the reading and the analysis of power, American Orientalism is a tool for the exercise of power, and it shapes how societies and people are perceived and treated and therefore governed. The Orientalistic stereotype helps maintain social hierarchies by positioning the US as superior to, quote, the other that needs to be controlled or civilized. Thus, it is a mechanism of cultural and military power. While multiculturalism may be seen as inclusive political stance, in practice it can act as a power structure that makes it mask deeper social inequalities. The power lies in presenting diversity as a virtue while obstructing contributing struggles faced by marginalized communities, often reinforcing these social divisions rather than addressing the roots and cause of this inequality. By emphasizing cultural diversity in ways that ignores the colonialism, racism, and marginalized of non-white communities, multiculturalism can normalize the status quo of the systematic oppression. Well, you might be thinking, well, how does that impact in a daily life, or how can that go beyond the classroom? Well, the impact is understanding these concepts can drastically shift the way in which we perceive the world around us. Recognizing the role of American Orientalism can help us become more critical of the media portrayals and political narratives surrounding the Middle East, Asia, and other parts of, quote, Orient. It can also guide us into identifying ways that certain groups are dis- disproportionately affected by policies such as war, immigration, and surveillance. By being more aware of these issues, we can challenge and disrupt the stereotypes that contribute to more representations. Similarly, understanding the limitations of multiculturalism can push us to move beyond the celebrations of diversity, encouraging a deeper conversations about the structural inequality. It promotes us to ask questions such as, are we merely celebrating the visible presence of different cultures, or are we addressing the systematic issues that those cultures face? In our daily interactions, this awareness can lead to a more meaningful advocacy and solidarity with marginalized communities. Now, beyond the classroom, this knowledge of American Orientalism and multiculturalism has broader applications in activism, policymaking, and social justice work. Activists can use these concepts to critically engage with other systems that perpetrate racial inequality both domestically and internationally. For example, in advocating for foreign policy change or in pushing for reforms in the media representations, these keywords of American Orientalism and multiculturalism provide a framework for understanding the global nature of oppression. Additionally, it fosters a true multicultural society. We must address not only the celebration of diverse cultures, but also the economic and political systems that sustain inequality. These ideas can lead to a more effective campaigns for immigration reform, racial justice, and international solidarity movements. So to recap it all, by using Angela Davis's insights, we can deepen our understanding of how American Orientalism and multiculturalism function as forms of power in both global and local contexts. It reveals the complex dynamics of race, representation, and resistance in society. It helps us recognize the impact of these terms and how they can empower us to challenge stereotypes, demand justice, and work toward a society where true cultural diversity is accompanied by systematic change. Understanding these concepts is crucial not only in academic settings but also in everyday actions, where we can apply this knowledge to support marginalized communities and fight for justice. Thank you, you guys, for watching. I hope you guys have taken away something and learned and can use it in your everyday lives.